Welcome back, money savers. Good to see you again. So today we're going to go over how to create a budget and making a plan to improve your financial situation. 2022 is looking to be the start of a rough few years for everyone, so having a plan to combat inflation, high interest rates and rising cost of living is important. Having and setting a budget is really important, and today we're going to be focused on one of the more simple ones so you can implement this. Having and setting a budget is important, so today we're going to be covering one of the more simple ones so you can implement it today, plus a variation that you can work towards. So, let's get into the video. So, what's a budget and why is it important? By definition, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditure over a set period of time. So in this video's case, we're going to work out your income, expenses, and how much money you can put aside to save. A budget is important because it's your plan. Without a plan, you are more likely to struggle and more likely to fail. A budget gives you the basic guidelines and parameters that you need to stay within to see the results. It's like learning any new skill. You work out what you need to do, you do it, put it into practice, and over time you get better and see the results. So like I said earlier, for today's video we're going to keep it nice and simple, focus on the 50-30-20 method. But what's that, I hear you say? So the 50-30-20 rule originates from the 2005 book All Your Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan, written by US Senator Elizabeth Warren. The basic rule is to divide up your after-tax income and allocate it to your spend. 50% on your needs, 30% on your wants, 20% on your savings. So let's dive deeper. 50% goes on your needs. These are your fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are things you have to pay every single month. There's no getting around it. Be it your rent, food bills, utilities, you name it, you have to pay it. If you didn't buy your food, you can't eat. Didn't pay your rent, got nowhere to live. Didn't pay your bills, no heating or gas. You get the idea. 30% goes on your wants. These are your flexible expenses. Your wants are things that you spend money on every month that you don't necessarily have to. Think of them more like a treat to yourself. You'll also find that your wants is where you're spending a lot of your money that you could be saving or allocating elsewhere. Without a plan, it's very easy to spend in this category. Your wants are where you will find that most of the money you're spending every month you could be allocating elsewhere. You'd be surprised how much you spend on these things, and small bills end up being big bills in the future. A few examples being nights out, ordering takeaway, another streaming service, you get the idea. And lastly, you have 20% on your savings, paying yourself. Now for me, this is the most important category. If you're not paying yourself and putting money aside, chances are in a couple years time, you'll be in the exact same position. By putting money aside, paying yourself, you can create an emergency fund for situations that may arise, maybe put money towards a deposit to buy a house, or maybe something you want to invest in the future. However, it starts with taking action and putting money aside and paying yourself. If you see here, here's an example of what your 50-30-20 model should look like. Now I mentioned at the start of this video there being a variation of the model. This is something that I use. I call this the 40-20-40. This broken down is 40% on your needs, 20% on your wants, 40% on your savings. Don't get me wrong, it takes some discipline, but you'll get there. With this variation, the main goal here is putting more money aside every month to pay yourself. Doing so will mean you'll have more cash on hand to save or invest in the future. The way that I've driven my needs down is by renegotiating my bills with my current providers, and also changing where I'm doing my shopping, and also instead of buying big brands, buy store brands. With the wants, it was just about scaling back on the non-essentials. Once I had a budget in place, I started to realise how much money I was spending when I was going out. So I reduced my takeaways to once a month, no more coffees in the morning, and no buying new clothes unless it was essential. Now for a couple quick tips. The 50-30-20 model is a fantastic blueprint and plan to use, but you've got to stick to it. If you don't stick to it, again, you're going to struggle and chances are you're going to fail. Be honest with yourself. If you're overspending on your wants, it's time to adjust. This is one of the easiest ways to have more money to save, pay off debt, or invest. Now, the 50-30-20 method is a brilliant blueprint. I included my variation as this is something that I wanted to work towards. Now, once you get comfortable, there's nothing wrong with you modifying and tweaking the percentages. So that brings us to the end of the video. I hope it's helped and given you a bit of insight to see how easy it is to set up a financial budget. As mentioned before, 2022 so far has been a bit rough, and it is looking like the next couple of years could be just as rough, if not worse. So it's important that you have a plan. Are you using the 50-30-20 method, or have you got a variation that you're using? Please leave a comment in the section below. I'd love to hear from you, and please, sharing is caring. If you've got any tips, please share them. On that note, stay safe, and as ever, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Jazz out.